Hello and welcome to Movie Recap. Today I am going to recap action, thriller movie, The Vault. A group of people conducts an artifact retrieval operation in the ocean. One of the divers, James, decides to remove his gear and do a free dive for him to explore the inside of an old vessel. He retrieves a valuable chest inside, opting to celebrate the achievement with Walter, the owner of the salvaging company. However, while they are celebrating, Spanish authorities appear and arrest them, claiming that they are engaged in illegal activities on their territory. A few days later, Walter attends a hearing in the international courtroom. He fights for their claim to the salvage items that their team invested time in and found. However, the jury's verdict favors the Spanish authorities, making him very disappointed. He tries to persuade Margaret to appeal the verdict, but she stops him and tells him just to live a normal life. After that, the Spanish authorities transport the valuable items to a highly secure place. Fast forward to 2010, a bunch of recruiters from the oil industry are lining up, hoping to hire Tom, a remarkable engineering student from a famous university. Every one of them offers him insane perks and compensation, but he dismisses all of it. Later, over dinner, he explains to his oil executive father that he turned down every offer from the big companies simply because their interests do not align with his own. While they are having this discussion, he receives a text message from an anonymous person. If you are the type of person only after money, you're going to have a difficult time turning down those insane offers. But there are still real instances where people reject this kind of offer simply because it's not in line with their passion. So knowing what you want from the start is a really good thing. Intrigued by the person, he ditches his dad and follows the instructions of the anonymous person. When he arrives at a museum, Lorraine, a con artist, approaches him. She steals a wallet from an important man and convinces the genius to follow her. Finally, Walter introduces himself and offers him an impossible task that no one has ever done. He wants his help to retrieve an 80-year-old treasure. The other problem is that the treasure is now in the hands of the Spanish government, and is stored in the most impenetrable bank in the most secure vault in the world. Not knowing whether the engineering student will accept the offer, he hands him a ticket and then leaves. Later that day, he informs his dad that he will be gone for a couple of days to think things through. He flies to Spain where Lorraine picks him up and takes him to where the team is. Walter introduces everyone to the young man, Klaus, the computer wizard, and the control booth manager, James, Walter's longtime colleague and leader of the salvage team, and Simon, their go-to guy for the things they need. The leader of the salvage team seems to be doubtful about the young college student but impresses them by solving a problem for the hacker. Walter and James share with the team the information related to their heist. They explain how tightly secured the bank is with tons of security cameras and sensors, but with one tiny mistake, guards within the facility will quickly swarm the area. Apart from that, the military's headquarters are just across the street, ready to be deployed. Also, the greatest threat is Gustavo, the chief of security and former head of the anti-terror risk task force in the country. Before they can even initiate the plans for Stage 1, Klaus finds out that the security system recognizes James as former military personnel. So, the engineer offers to do the job himself. He and Simon go inside the facility, pretending to be working in maintenance, while the con artist pretends to be an art restorer. Simon taps the server, enabling the hacker to manipulate the security cameras and helping the woman scan the key needed to open the main vault. On the other hand, Tom encounters a problem while scanning the underground where the vault is. It causes the fire alarm to activate, prompting Gustavo to implement a lockdown. Unfortunately, the second key to the vault still needs to be put back by the con artist. The engineer steps in to help by returning it to the safety vault. Security could not find anything wrong, so they let everyone go. That's intense for someone doing a heist for the first time, and although those situations can be intense, some find the thrill is what makes things exciting. While discussing the image from the scanner, Tom figures out that the vault is situated under a huge water tank. With only a slight change in the giant weighing scale, the reservoir will flood inside the vault. James and Simon confirm what the genius said after they find a passageway in the tunnels. Another huge discovery is that because of the vault's design and material, it would take too long to penetrate it, making it an impossible task. Walter decides to abandon their original plan and take advantage of the huge crowd that will gather because of the massive football match that is about to take place. Now, everything depends on how the college kid solves the problem of stopping the giant weighing scale. On the other hand, Gustavo finds out that the fire alarm is not just a coincidence. He starts to gather information about the two men who pretended to be with the cleaning company. The sharp security chief anticipates that thieves will strike during the World Cup, so he prepares to tighten security even more. After getting stuck for a few days, Tom finally comes up with a way for them to pull off their heist. They will freeze the giant scale with 500 liters of liquid nitrogen to slow down its mechanism. This will give them a couple of minutes to retrieve the item from the vault. Because they will be short on manpower, the engineer works with them while Walter keeps an eye on the whole operation. The solution seems quite simple, but with that volume of gas required, you have to be resourceful and have a lot of connections. That's why everybody needs their go-to guy. But is it really scientifically possible? The day arrives, and they carry on with their plan. A huge crowd of football supporters surrounds the area while Gustavo and his men lock down the bank. 3 of them infiltrate the bank from above, while 1 is on standby to freeze the giant scale. They get to the underground without getting caught, but it's clear that they're behind schedule. Using the keys they replicated and the thumbprint they took from Gustavo, they successfully open the vault. The plan to freeze the huge vault works. They immediately open each container to retrieve the treasure chest that they were looking for. A trigger activates without them knowing, alerting security. Gustavo discovers that the security camera is compromised. So, every guard starts mobilizing. Walter, realizing that 3 have been compromised, orders them to turn themselves in. Suddenly, James pulls out a gun and points it at the 2. He reveals that he is still an active agent working for the British government. The nitrogen wears off, triggering the weighing scale to change and locking the 3 inside the vault. Water begins to fill the vault's interior rapidly. James is able to swim safely thanks to his prior experience diving, and he decides to leave the other 2 individuals behind. Extremely worried, Walter wants to stop the operation and call security to prevent them from drowning. Tom calms himself down to think clearly. He finally finds a way to stop the water flow inside the vault. As time passes, he instructs Simon to stack the empty nitrogen tanks and use them to add more weight to the scale. It will trick the system into believing that the storage space is already full of water. However, the tank's weight is not enough to stop the flow of water. On top of that, security removes the bug they put in the server, which means they can't control the cameras anymore. The vault starts to drain after Simon climbs onto the scale with the small radio he brings to listen to the broadcast of the football finals game. Security arrives at the vault only to be shocked that no one is inside. The 2 manage to escape the vault, but the security guards are now chasing them after detecting them on camera. They escape through a window in the chairman's office and blend in with the crowd celebrating. The following day, Walter meets Margaret to renegotiate, but she refuses to. Later, she becomes very frustrated after finding out the coins that James retrieved were all but fake. They decode the true coordinates only to discover that the treasure is hidden beneath the Bank of England. 2 years later, during yet another Olympic competition, Lorraine finally walks into the bank. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.